प्रातः स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनं पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति. We'll chant from verses 24 to 28. Chapter 6, verse number 24 to 28. सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामान् त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामः त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः शनैः शनैरुपरमेत् बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीत्य आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्. शनैः शनैरुपरमेत् बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीत्य आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा किञ्चिदपि न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्. आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्. यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतत् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत्. यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतत् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत्. प्रशान्तमनसं ह्येनं योगिनं सुखमुत्तमम् उपैति शान्तरजसं ब्रह्मभूतमकल्मषम्. प्रशान्तमनसं ह्येनं योगिनं सुखमुत्तमम् उपैति शान्तरजसं ब्रह्मभूतमकल्मषम्. युञ्जन्नैव सदात्मानं योगी विगतकल्मषः सुखेन ब्रह्मसंस्पर्शः अत्यन्तं सुखमश्नुते. युञ्जन्नैवं सदात्मानं योगी विगतकल्मषः सुखेन ब्रह्मसंस्पर्शम् अत्यन्तं सुखमश्नुते. Today I got all my visargas confused. My apologies. In the verse number 24, it should be kaman, not kamaha. Kama. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman. Tyaktva sarvana sheshata. Thank you. Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Algunas preguntas. Any questions?
Hari Om.
Hari Om. No questions about meditation. Very meditative about meditation. Good. This can be one of two things. We haven't read anything.
You're asking questions.
I'm seeing no questions.
We have nothing to ask. Okay.
We're not
Oh, question. Okay. Hi.
Oh, yeah. So in the 21st verse, there's this line, sensual enjoyments are objective and impermanent, while the bliss of the self is subjective and everlasting. So this pair of opposites, objective and subjective, I think the way it's used over here is different from how I would usually use this. So can you just clarify this?
Okay. When the mind identifies with the self within, it revels in the supreme bliss. The intellect needs to control the mind all along until you gain the state of realization. The experience transcends the senses. Sensual enjoyments are objective and impermanent, while the bliss of the self is subjective and everlasting. So he's explaining the line in the verse. He knows the supreme bliss which can be grasped by the intellect, which transcends the senses. Right? He's talking about atindriyam. It is atindriyam, right? Beyond what you experience objectively outside you with your senses. First of all, yes, the way he's using objective and subjective is different from, say, a common parlance of objective means maybe something that is, factually and collectively true,
Yeah.
whereas subjective means a personal opinion. Yeah, that's not what he means out here. He's using objective and subjective quite literally, as objective means exterior, right? Outside, as an object, whereas subjective means internal, as a as a visceral, a almost like a revelation of sorts, rather than something that is sort of being apprehended outside in a gross form, right? That's what he means by the words objective and subjective. So here he's highlighting that this experience of enlightenment, when the mind restrained by the practice comes to rest, seeing the self alone, is satisfied in the self, then he says when he knows the supreme bliss which can be which transcends the senses, wherein established he never moves from reality. So which he's talking about the supreme bliss of meditation. The supreme bliss of meditation is beyond any of the objective enjoyments that the senses can enjoy, or the experiences you and I are known to um, experience, right? So what we experience is objects that are different from us, which we acquire and then through our contact enjoy them, right? And once we are done, sort of, either we grow tired of it or the object loses its enjoyment, right? Meaning, for example, you order a plate of food, either the food gets over or you grow tired of the food. Either way, the experience is temporary,
Okay.
right? So, sensual enjoyments are objective and temporary, impermanent. They have a beginning and an end. And this is true for every objective experience, whether it's of a thing or a person, also. Elsewhere, we have read indiscriminate contact leads to a loss of enjoyment. Indiscriminate contact leads to the same person who you fantasized about becomes you know a source of pain. So sensual enjoyments are objective and impermanent, whereas this experience we're talking about is different. This experience, which is why it's so hard to put in words. First of all, it's subjective. Does not mean it. That does not mean it's not real. That does not mean, oh, it's a fantasy of one's mind. One can ask the question, if it's subjective, did it actually happen? Right? Um, but we'll come to that later. The point is that it's distinct from an outward experience. It's an inner state of elevation. And what the sages say is it's everlasting. Means once you've acquired it, it stays with you, it moves with you. You carry it with you wherever you go. It becomes your predisposition, it becomes your default state, right? So it's an inner revelation rather than an outward apprehension of some form or figure or right. Yeah.
So I have a follow-up question. So
Yeah.
someone who is experiencing the bliss of the self or is quite some way into experiencing this bliss, then will they have any appreciation or will they get any sort of enjoyment from sensual experiences, or will that just be something which they are not really moved by at all?
They'll have the essential experience of the sense object, which means they'll be so present in the experience that whatever there is to enjoy, they'll definitely enjoy. They'll enjoy the heat, they'll enjoy the cold, they'll enjoy the texture, they'll enjoy the flavor, they'll enjoy the quality to its fullest because their mind is not. See, why don't we enjoy something? Our capacity to enjoy something is totally determined by a state of mind. If you are in an ecstatic state of mind, we'll enjoy something. If we are disturbed, if we are distracted, we won't enjoy something. Now, for a mind that is like a lamp in a windless place, for a mind that is so present, for a mind that is undisturbed, for a mind that sees everything as a splash of divinity, whatever comes their way, they will enjoy not only the objective aspect of it, but they'll even subjectively perceive the Lord in it, in a way, right? So, yes, short answer to your question is of course they'll enjoy it, but also they won't be deluded by it. That's also true. They won't grow attached to it. So, it's almost like a too good to be true situation, you know? They'll have the cake and they'll eat it too. Only scenario where you can have the cake and eat it too. You can enjoy the world and still not be attached to it. But for that, you have to have this inner revelation. For that, you have to have this inner realization. For that, you have to have gained something greater than what the world can offer. So it's not that you stop enjoying the world, but also you don't grow deluded about it. You don't develop fantasies about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
But they won't have FOMO. Oh, Ankit is enjoying it. I also want it. Yeah. Whatever comes, they'll enjoy. If it doesn't come,
No anxiety.
no anxiety. Someone asked us, I visited Swamiji last week, no? So he told me he's still joking and he's still proud of the fact that all these years he maintained the same amount of weight. You know, for 60 years he was the same waistline and the same weight. It's so heartful when he says. He looked at me, he's like, clearly not same weight. I was like, no. So, so then someone was recounting, Swamiji doesn't have any wrinkles. So his skin is sagged a little bit because he's old, but if you look at his skin closely, he doesn't have any wrinkles. Says, Swamiji, tell me your beauty regime. I don't want Vedanta and all. At least tell me what, creams you apply and all.
Almond.
He's saying, I apply the cream of no worry, no anxiety. Easier said than done. No worry, no anxiety. How will you have no worry, no anxiety? Only once you've had this subjective, everlasting inner experience. That's when you will have a beautiful relationship with anything objective. Only when when you've realized this subjective wealth within, right? Yes, Rashmiji.
So I have a question from the verse and also a general question.
Mm.
So from the verse, it is verse 22.
Mm.
When the mind is established in the self and revels in its supreme bliss, no other gain can surpass that experience.
Mm.
Towards the end, thus, or the whole thing, and then thus appreciating the superior nature of the happiness derived from the subtle layers, the spiritual seeker gradually moves towards the self and finally becomes rooted in its supreme bliss. This thing about subtle layers, when here also emotional joy is superior physical pleasure, thus appreciating the superior nature of the happiness derived from the subtler layers. What exactly, like he said this, as you delve deeper into the subtler components of your personality, you will find the quality of happiness increasing. So, what does he exactly mean about the subtler components of your personality?
Before I answer your question, I'll say that the slip of tongue, that Freudian slip you had, was actually true. You said spiritual seeker and spiritual speaker.
Yeah.
Spiritual speakers also move towards the self after talking so much about it and appreciating it. So if you're not a seeker yet, at least speak a lot about it. Huh? If you don't feel you're a seeker and who can seek all the time, at least speak about it. That'll make you a seeker. Anyway, jokes aside, when the mind is established in the self, it revels in its supreme bliss, and no other gain can surpass that experience. As you delve deeper into subtler components of your personality, you will find quality of happiness increasing. Emotional joy derived from the mind is superior to physical pleasure. Intellectual satisfaction is superior to emotional joy. There he's explained it. As you delve to subtler components of your personality, you will find quality of happiness increasing. Material happiness is a certain amount of joy. लॉटरी लग गई, शेयर प्राइस बढ़ गया, पैसे आ गए, डील क्रैक हो गया, खुदा ना खास्ता इनहेरिटेंस हो गया. It brings a certain amount of joy, but what do you do with that joy? If I say पैसे तो आ गए बट अभी तिजोरी में लॉक करके रखो, you can't do anything with it. बैंक में लॉक करके रखो, can't do anything with it. There's no joy. Material joy has no value unless it can be exchanged for a superior joy which is at least physical. Oh, with the money I am traveling, I'm going to the best hotels in the world, best spas in the world, I'm enjoying this great food, I'm enjoying this great experience. You're catering to yourself, your senses. So sensual enjoyment is greater than material enjoyment. You may or may not, see, even if you don't have some money, suppose someone takes you on a trip for free, all expenses paid, you'll still enjoy it, right? Even without money. So material material joy has no value without the capacity to enjoy it sensually, but sensual joy even without material has a value. So sensual joy is greater than material joy, right? Now, sensual joy compared to something subtler, emotional joy. Suppose I go take you to your greatest, happiest, most favorite restaurant on the day that you have had a fight with your spouse or your child. That same tasty food will seem tasteless. Sensual joy will lose all its meaning if your emotions are not settled, if emotions are not in place. But suppose there's some great emotional news, you'll forget to eat also.
Mhm.
You'll forget to sleep also. Huh? Suppose your grandchild is on its way. Suppose the day it's getting delivered, you'll stay up all night. Forget sensual comforts. You won't bother about it. You will for you will forsake your own sensual or bodily comforts to cater to something emotionally. You'll be happy to sacrifice senses for emotional joy. Emotional joy is greater. This is what he means. Emotional joy derived from the mind is superior to physical pleasure derived from the body. What does he mean by subtler? Subtler means two things. Please remember this. Subtle means two things. It is more pervasive. What does it mean by more pervasive? What I've said, that, like I use the example with money. Senses are more pervasive than money in the sense that with money but without senses has no meaning, but senses has meaning even without money. Senses goes beyond money, right? So pervasive means something that goes beyond, it pervades. The mind, emotional joy goes beyond the senses. With or without physical pleasure, emotional pleasure
Comes high.
pervades it, right? Also, it's deeper, it's more subtler means, first of all, it's more pervasive. Second of all, it's more permanent. A pleasure to your palate lasts a couple of seconds. Pleasure from a massage. First of all, massages are always good when you think about it. When you're actually getting it, it's never as pleasurable, isn't it? And all the pleasure from the massage goes away after an hour or so, couple of hours. Yeah, you paid a lot of money for it, and that's why you have to say, yeah, very blissful experience. But actually, ठीक था यार. Aye, okay. But emotional joy. Suppose your child says something to you which pleases you. It's something you've been waiting to hear. It'll last months and months. मेरे को याद है मैं उसको वहाँ ले गई, उसने वो कहा, उफ, मेरा दिल भर गया. महीनों बाद आप मुझे सुनाओगे. So emotional joy is more pervasive in the sense that it's more everlasting. So two things, it's more pervading and it's more permanent, everlasting. Emotional joy, so sensual joy greater than material joy. Emotional joy greater than sensual, physical joy. What is greater than, is there something greater than emotional joy? Most people don't experience any joy greater than emotional joy. They spend their entire life तरसते रहते हैं. इतना पैसा कमाया, इतना काम किया, इतना एफर्ट डाला, just for emotional joy. Is there greater joy than emotional joy? Yes, there is. There's intellectual joy, intellectual satisfaction. When you can align with something, when you feel connected to something, it's a deeper connection. It's a deeper connection of values. It's a deeper connection of principles. You may live a very simple life. You may have people who are not very expressive emotionally, but as a unit, they are connected in their values. For example, if you're working in an organization, nowadays the workforce is very conscious about this, especially my generation, generations below me. We're very conscious. What kind of organization are we working in? What are the organization values? ठीक है, after a point it doesn't matter that much. Most people ठीक है, they talk more about it than they actually value it. But it's a deeper connection. It's more pervasive. Even if people are not very emotionally sort of expressive, but if you know that sort of you connect with them in your ideas and ideologies, you can spend a lot of time with them. You won't grow tired of their company. Also, your intellectual satisfaction is more permanent. You have to experience it. I've always related this experience to to my experience studying mathematics. I'm still proud of it, although may have forgotten most of it if you put me through the test. Because intellectual um, achievements, they literally unlock things in your mind. They open up your mind. They help you discover new things, right? That discovery itself, and that discovery is permanent. What you discover is permanent. What you take from this classroom, right? Suppose some arenas of your mind have been opened up through our discussions and engagements out here. It's deeply satisfying. It's something that you will carry with you throughout your life. So it's more pervasive and it's more superior to even emotional joy. Because most people are not at this level, they don't value it. बंदर क्या जाने अदरक का स्वाद, right? वही बात हो गई. That doesn't mean it's not there. Most people are stuck at the emotional level, and emotions we can all understand. But intellectual joy is far superior to emotional joy. What is greater than intellectual joy? Most people don't reach intellectual. But greater than intellectual joy also, there exists spiritual joy, spiritual bliss. The subjective experience which we were talking about in the previous verse with Ankit, that inner subjective experience is far more gratifying. Your connection with the divinity, your connection with the cosmos, your realization of reality. As that grows in you, you become freer and freer and freer. When you have that, nothing else matters. When you have that, you become objective to things that happen around you. You become capable of withstanding any force that the world throws upon you. No, that doesn't mean we should have problems in our life. I'm not saying we should have problems. I'm just saying you become capable. With or without material joy, with or without emotional joy, with or without physical joy, with or without emotional joy, if you have spiritual bliss, you can even do without these things. It doesn't mean you should do without them. It means you can do without them. And this is evidenced in the lives of so many people. Sometimes you have to, it's like baptism by fire, you have to go through that, maybe a very strict sannyas, right? To really experience the deepest spiritual joy. But look at their lives, they live incredible lives. They jhola hai bas aur kuch nahi hai. They don't need anything else, right? Because the joy they are experiencing it's not comprehensible to you and me. हम हाथ जोड़ के बोलेंगे you do you. Huh? You do you. Have you heard that phrase? You do you. I'll do me. So, material, physical, emotional, intellectual. We've not even scratched the surface. So that's why the sages are trying to shake us. It's like you don't know what you're missing out on. You're playing with all these toys. You're playing with these emotional toys and sitting with your big fat ego. इसने मुझे hello नहीं बोला. इसने मुझे दिवाली के लिए फोन नहीं किया. इसका क्या होगा? Will he get a career? Will he prosper? Stuck in the material and the emotional level. It's all not all or nothing, right? So as you go onto the spiritual journey, slowly your dependence on the lower layers reduces, right? Your dependence on money reduces, your dependence on physical pleasures reduces, your dependence on emotional joys reduce. As you grow spiritually, it's not 100 or 0, as we always say, right? So thus appreciating the superior nature of happiness derived from the subtler layer, spiritual seeker gradually move towards the ultimate, the highest layer of spiritual experience, and finally becomes rooted in supreme bliss. So today spiritual bliss may be inconceivable to you, or the ultimate spiritual bliss may be inconceivable to you, which is why we always say at least start with self development. You'll see that the moment you connect to some spiritual values, automatically intellectual disagreements, emotional conflicts, and sort of physical fluctuations will have less and less of an impact on you. But that's what we say. So you connect to that, you connect to spiritual values, automatically these grosser layers are taken care of. And slowly, slowly, you'll even go to the higher echelons, you'll go to the higher layers of spiritual bliss. It will happen.
Thank you, sir. But I have another question.
Okay.
So, what helps us to deal with the impatience in our spiritual path? The impatience when we do not see the desired results. Because we continuously, our belief wavers. Initially, we are very enthusiastic, over enthusiastic. But what helps us to sustain that?
If you haven't put in the work, how will you see results? And this is not me complaining to you. This is for you, what you have to tell yourself. This is not me because I don't know what you do, or no one knows. That's not our jurisdiction as such. But if it was so easy that simply, you know, um, these are, you have to appreciate that desires just don't come out of nothing. They are deeply rooted impressions in you. They have taken root in you for generations, as we say, for lifetimes. The way you are, the way you relate to things, the way you perceive things, what you are gravitating to, it's not something that is incidental, right? So, gradually, if you're trying to erase something, first of all, are you applying the right technique? What is the technique of rising above a desire? You have to pick up something higher. See, impatience will never be there. I'll tell you why. Because when you pick up something higher, you will actually get lost in the joy of the higher. If you're impatient about something, it means you are not experiencing the joy of the higher. The only way to rise above a desire is to connect with something higher. That's it. That's the only way. It's even at the physical level. The only way to grow physically, you connect with something high, you connect with the goal, you connect with the purpose. Automatically your laziness, automatically your sloth will go away. So without connecting with something with a purpose, we are sitting and complaining, why am I not becoming more disciplined? Why am I not becoming more disciplined? That's the frustration that arises in us. So very often we our technique itself is wrong, right? These words, these classes, these discussions are only a indication of how we need to proceed with things, right? But actually putting them to practice is something altogether different, right? So you connect with what you conceive as higher, automatically your growth will happen. And you'll become kinder to yourself because you'll realize that okay, there's a lot of impressions to erase slowly, slowly. But you will see incremental growth, and that incremental growth will bring you a lot of joy. Full development will only happen upon graduation. It's like a kindergarten student saying, I'm very impatient, I want to graduate. No, slowly. Learn your next lesson. Go to the next class. Pass the next exam. Set intermediate goals of who you want to be, how you want to be. Yeah. Okay. Verse number 24. सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामान् त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः सङ्कल्पप्रभवान् कामान् त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः. Abandoning without reserve all desires born of sankalpa and completely restraining the group of senses from all quarters by the mind. Verse number 25 as well. We'll read. Shanai shanairuparamit buddhya dhriti grihitaya atma samsthambanah kritva na kinchidapi chintayet. शनै शनैरुपरमेत् बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किंचिदपि चिन्तयेत्. So he's talking about a person in meditation, right? Quite rightly, because the topic is the yoga of meditation. So while all aspects of this chapter may not be relatable to our experience, right, we need to see what we can derive from it. So in the previous couple of verses he's indicated that a person in this journey is rooted in their inner subjective experience and therefore becomes established in it, is not even moved by great sorrow. The beautiful verse number 22. Then he says, this is the yoga of the severance of the union with pain, right? Practice it with determination, practice it undespairingly, practice it with full commitment. You have to develop your own conviction, right? It's only going to give you as much as you conceive. Your conception of what this can give you will fuel your inspiration, will fuel your conviction in this journey. And it can give you much more. It can give you, it's like it can make you from a spiritual slum dweller to a spiritual billionaire. That's the capacity of this practice, right? Far beyond pain, it can give you supreme bliss, but at least it can sever you from your union with pain, all the pain that you experience. So with that in mind, with that as the premise, he says, abandon without reserve all desires born of sankalpa and completely restraining the group of senses from all quarters by the mind. Slowly, little by little, let him withdraw by the intellect held firm. Having established the mind in the self, let him not think of anything else. So he's talking to a seeker preparing, ready for that seat of meditation. Abandoning without reserve all desires born of sankalpa. The moment you hear this, you're like, no, thank you. I don't want to abandon anything. If this sort of verse is giving you jitters, don't worry. Put it on the side. He's speaking to a seeker who has understood that the world is a play. The world is a leela. I don't want to play in this play anymore. I'm done. I want to exit this cycle. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. He's talking to a seeker who's been through all of that contemplation. He's been through all those stages of growth. He's developed that deep spiritual conviction. Still, in such a seeker, desires linger. Still, certain thoughts, certain connections, certain relations, certain experiences linger in their mind. Right? So, abandoning without reserve all these lingering thoughts as well. All other sankalpas. For you and me, we need to pick up a higher sankalpa to give up a lower sankalpa, a lower attachment. That may be relevant to you and me. But for one who is ready for the seat of meditation, abandon without reserve all desires born of sankalpa, born of any kind of intention. No other intention, no other purpose matters. This is your goal. You are born to realize the self, period. Nothing else. And this is a conviction that a person at the stage of meditation has developed. So, abandoning without reserve. Go back to verse number 55 of chapter 2. 55 or 54? 55. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogata atmanyeva atmanatushta sthita pragnasta dochite. Who is a sthita prajna? Is 55 or 54? Anyone? I think it's 55. 54 is Arjuna's question. Just for general knowledge, it doesn't matter.
55.
55, no, yes. It gives a little bit of joy, when you recall such things. But it doesn't matter. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. Arjuna's question is, who is a perfect human being? Who is a sthita prajna? Who is one who is established? He says, when one prajahati yada kaman, when one removes all desires, sarvan, kaman sarvan, when one abandons all desires that have entered the mind. So when one has successfully abandoned and become enlightened, that is a perfect human being. In that similar tone he's talking out here, abandoning without reserve, no ifs and buts. If you think there's something else to be enjoyed out here, you're not ready for the ultimate dhyanam. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time on dhyana yoga. So abandoning without reserve all desires born of sankalpa and completely restraining the group of senses. As we've talked about in meditation, you need to completely avoid any kind of distractions. So restraining all the senses from all quarters of the mind, right? You have to go beyond the body. This is called asana shuddhi. You have to go beyond the body. Once established in the asana, when you bring yourself to that practice of meditation, when you create that space, that environment, your attention needs to transcend the body. You almost forget about your body. No more thought, no more consciousness of the body. And expert meditators are able to reach this state. Maybe if you close your eyes, you can stop thinking about the body for 2 minutes. Suddenly there's like a twitch, or suddenly there's a scratch, there's an itch. So you come back to consciousness of the body. Or because you're not able to sit, you get distracted and you start wanting to adjust. But those who are expert meditators can sit, and when they enter this inner world, they go beyond the body completely. So restraining the group of senses, all the senses from all quarters of the mind. He says, little by little, let him withdraw by the intellect held from. So the same is true for a meditator, that they cannot rush into meditation. They have to prepare everything first of all. Then patiently, little by little, usually through a japa, usually through some kind of a supplementary practice, bring the mind to a gradual rhythm, withdrawing the mind into the internal world. This is true for a meditator. This is also true for you and me. Little by little. These are words to remember. Shanai Shanai Ruparamit. Let him withdraw little by little. In your spiritual journey, you must withdraw from the world the state of pratyahar, or the state of vairagya that we are trying to achieve. It's not going to happen overnight. Little by little it will happen. Gradually it will happen. Be patient with yourself. Rashmi ji, be patient with yourself. You can't be impatient. Little by little. So many janmas you have spent attaching yourself to the world. Detachment will happen slowly now. You don't want to create any, unnecessary sort of. See, when you even break a flower from a plant, right? If you yank it off, it'll create sort of an injury, both on the plant and the flower. You don't want to injure yourself. it'll be counterproductive, right? When the time is right, just pluck it off. So you have to ripen. You can't break off a flower. You have to ripen into a fruit, and then automatically it's like a effortless. You think you're putting in effort. त्र्यंबकम यजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वारुकमिव बंधनात् मृत्युर्मोक्षयमामृतात्. You'll break off like a cucumber. उर्वारुकमिव बंधनात्. Your बंधन, आप बंधन से मुक्त होगे जैसे एक क्यूकम्बर अपने पेड़ से मुक्त होता है when it's ripened. But is bandhan mukti, you have these bandhanas you have with your vasanas, your nature will happen gradually. So little by little, withdraw by the intellect held firm. So in meditation we've talked about the role of the buddhi. The buddhi firmly holds your mind. First of all, it sets the mind in the practice of a japa. So the intellect is watching. While the mind is chanting the japa, the intellect is trying to avoid any unnecessary thoughts. If any thought enters, patiently observing, keeping the mind held firm while the thought passes. So the mind, by the intellect held firm, you're gradually, slowly withdrawing. Having established this, now an entire lifetime can go in these three words. Having established the mind. So easily he says it. He says it so easily, but actually you have to understand this is a lifetime of work, having established a mind in the self. आसन शुद्धि and फिर ये जो मन को शुद्ध करने का. So externally, of course, we've talked about it. It takes a lot of effort. Even internally, once you start the abhyasa of meditation, it takes a long time to gradually establish the mind in this practice. You have to longer and longer and longer and longer. You have to extend your capacity. Let him not think of anything else. He says it as it's so easy to do. If I was Arjuna, I would say, hello, what is all this? He's going to say, to Arjuna's credit, he's going to say, this is not possible. He's saying, all this you're talking, it's not possible. He is not talking to you and me necessarily right now, which is what I want to draw your attention to. If you think this is unreachable, it's okay, because it's beyond our conception. But is it possible? Yes. And this is an indication, this is a suggestion. Entire scriptural texts can be written about the second line. How to establish the mind in the self, how to not think of anything else. Entire scriptural texts, entire processes, procedures are written about this one line. Because this in itself, for those who are at this state, they need this kind of advice. They need this kind of reassurance. Don't think of anything else. Any thought enters, gently dismiss it. We just casually read it, and but this is very potent advice to those who are at this state. But what we need to take from this verse is slowly, gradually, little by little. Change is gradual. That doesn't mean you don't change at all. Be kind to yourself at the same time. Set yourself some goals and be patient. Verse number 26. यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतत् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत्. यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतत् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत्. By whatever cause the unsteady mind, yato, yatah, whatever. Yat means that, what. So yata means whatever. Whatever. By whatever cause the unsteady and restless mind wanders away, restraining it from that, let him bring it under the control of the self alone. Again, a very important advice to a person in the seat of meditation, a reassurance that your mind will wander. Don't get impatient. Your intellect's only job is to let the thought pass and bring the mind back. Let the thought pass and bring the mind back. Now, if you have too many thoughts, if you're too extrovert, if you're not ready for practice of meditation itself, then it's counterproductive because your mind will constantly be wandering away. It's too much work. Your mind will not sit. But for those who are reasonably ready also, the mind has its nature. It cannot be stable. It cannot be sthit. It's chanchal. It's asthira. Patiently. Draw it back. Draw it back. Bring it under the control of the self through your mantra. Through your mantra, bring it under this ekagrata. Right? That's the recommendation. Verse number 27. Prashantamanasam yenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahmabhutamakalmasham. Prashantamanasam yenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahmabhutamakalmasham. Verily, supreme bliss comes to the yogi whose mind is perfectly tranquil, whose passion is calmed, who is sinless, who has become Brahman. Verily, after all of this is done, so easily sing, verily. After all of this is done, he, enam, verily. After all of this is done, and you can spend a lifetime doing this. Please understand this. Anyway, I don't want to discourage you at all, please. I'm only drawing our attention back to even a drop of this knowledge can fix so many problems for us. Can bring us into the 99th percentile of human beings. Thereafter, this has so much more to offer, is all I'm bringing your attention to. A drop of this knowledge will solve all the problems surrounding you. Thereafter, if you pour yourself, there's a long journey to traverse. An entire lifetime can be spent having fixed all the other problems in sadhana. An entire lifetime can be spent. After having so many, if you think about it, it comes to your mind, where am I on the journey? At the same time, you have to be realistic about where you stand. So at the same time, it is, worrisome, but at the same time, it's reassuring that this is not a one life journey. And the reason, the very fact that you have come here means that you have met it in the past and chosen this. The very fact that you have come to this classroom itself means that you have come across this knowledge and chosen this. That's why you have landed here in a more stable way. A past version of you has told yourself, oh, I want to study this. I want to get into this. And then you see so many people who completely dedicate their lives to this. They have no other concern. And even they are continuing in their journey because, yes, the journey is long, right? But you are taken care of. Verily, supreme bliss comes to the yogi whose mind is perfectly tranquil. Even before supreme bliss comes, bliss ही काफी है. Bliss भी आ जाएगा. May not be supreme, but bliss आ जाएगा. Supreme bliss is not so easy. It's not like buying chana off the street. But even a drop of this knowledge and bliss will come. You'll be blissed out. You can sit next to the most annoying person in front of you and tolerate them for hours. That's the superpower you will have. Anything else you want? Anything else you want? Tell me right now. I'll tell you whether it's included in the bliss package or not. Supreme bliss package, very expensive. Let's not opt for it. Bliss package, I'll tell you what all you'll get. Message me what all you want. I'll let you know if it's included or not. Chances are it'll be included. Whenever you buy something, there's bronze tier, silver tier, gold tier, diamond tier. So I'm talking about not the diamond tier, not the supreme bliss tier, but even the bliss tier. But for the yogi whose mind is perfectly tranquil in meditation, supreme bliss, prashanti, not shanti, prashanti. It's winter right now, and the air is hanging in silence. It's a beautiful time of the year because the moment I stop speaking, Shanti itself is so satisfying. Prashanti. In the ashram, in the Vedanta Academy, before, of course, it was so big, the first lecture hall that was built was called Prashant. So many names we give. We give the name Prashant to people in our culture. This is what it means. Generally, Prashantas are the most tormenting people. Prashants. Totally not living up to their name. Perfectly tranquil. Prashant. So supreme bliss comes to this Prashant Mana. Prashanta Manasam Hi Enam Yoginam Sukham Uttamam. Supreme bliss. Whose passion is calm, who is sinless, who's gone beyond all mental agitations, who's gone beyond all these mental complications and entanglements, and has merged with the Lord, has merged with Brahman. दिल्ली दूर है, बट दिल्ली की तरफ तो बढ़ो. रास्ते में भी बहुत सुख मिलेगा, बहुत शांति मिलेगी. That's guaranteed. Okay, we'll take it up in the next verse. Following verses, we'll take it up in the next class. With that thought, we'll conclude today. Any quick questions? I'm happy to address. Okay, so please go through the text, enjoy, read it. May it give you bliss, may it give you shanti. Come back with any questions. We'll see you again day after tomorrow. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.